Life radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show. That's right, 6 a.m. on a Friday morning, Friday the 14th, 5 a.m.
Yeah, I tried to get the line switched over as early as possible, and the engineer said the earliest he could switch the line over was 8:55.
Oh.
But it did not work at 8:45.
There was a listener that wanted to give us feedback. I go, well, then just call into the show. He said, nah, I'm a little shy. I go, all right, well, call in before the show.
Usually,
he did, and it didn't go through.
Okay. Usually when we do the normal showtime, it becomes live 9:30 your time and 12:30 my time, so we have a half an hour before the show starts. But this time, because it was like a special time, they could only set it up like right before the show started.
Here's what happens when I randomly look on Facebook, by the way, guys. Taker answered to Muck says, motherfucker. Come on. And it's in because the weigh-ins start at 7 a.m. our time, and it's 6 a.m. our time right now. So the UFC will be doing their weigh-ins. You over here now?
Yeah.
Okay. And if he can break away, if the weight cut is a clean weight cut, everything goes smooth, then he'll call in. He's fighting at UFC on Fox 24. That's the fight card this weekend that the UFC is throwing your way on Big Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern start time for the main card. That would be 6 p.m. Eastern start time for the prelims, also on Fox. Big Fox. No Fox Sports 1 or nothing. Big Fox. So that's huge. That's huge for that promotion. Bellator also has an offering, but get this. Their main event, the Andrew Higo coming out of Legacy when it was the Fighting Alliance. Sorry, the Fighting Championships. What are they now? Are they LFC? No, they're LF.
Legacy Fighting Championships.
Is what they are now.
Or
Alliance.
LFA.
Yeah. So when they were LFC, Leandro Higo fought there. And he's subbing in for Darian Caldwell. Darian Caldwell was supposed to challenge Eduardo Dantas, who also has been besieged with injuries over the years. This is only like his third fight since 2014. Regardless, they're out there in Budapest, Hungary, and the kid comes in 4 pounds heavy.
It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, so no longer 5 rounds, no longer for a title, just a fight. That sucks, man. That really does. Bellator has, a few superstars, and I think Dantas is one of them, and it would have been nice for him to showcase his skills, and for that to fall apart twice, first with Caldwell and now with Higo. I mean, the fight's happening, but no belt is on the line. That just sucks. So that's what's happening out there.
Right?
He should have held the towel, yeah. Anthony Johnson is appealing. Apparently he put up a post, and then it got taken down. But what he was trying to say was, if I recall, because it got taken down. Actually, we have a screenshot of it on Junkie. He was saying that, in summary, if they were to strip DC, okay. He doesn't want that to happen, but if they were to accept it, if they were to do it, he feels like, I guess he would roll with that, But that's not what he wants. He feels like the fight was settled, but he's not too pleased with how the weigh-ins went down, and he also wants there to be a blueprint for future weigh-ins, botched weigh-ins, we'll call them. What do you think of all that?
In a way, it doesn't make sense to me because, if you're already past it and you're retired, then you're pretty much done. But what I do understand is him laying a blueprint for other people so that this doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
That I do respect.
Right.
I tried this morning weighing in, and then my scale is right next to the wall. So I just took my fingertips and put it up against the wall, and I lost 10 pounds.
Yeah, there's been a lot of YouTube videos of people showing how that can be done, jiu-jitsu players, wrestlers. So I'm convinced that it definitely can help. And the fact that DC did it, I just don't want future fighters to do it. Now, people would ask, well, why are you okay with DC doing it? I'm not, actually. But it already happened, and the commission didn't spot it. So I feel like that ship sailed. You know what I mean? Now we have video proof, and I think we're all aware that that can help. So going forward, let's just not let it happen again. That's my point. But there's no way to really cycle back and say, well, this and we're that. Because if we were to do that, can you imagine how many videos we'd have to go through? This damn collar keeps catching here. Can you imagine how many videos we'd have to go through? Goes through the history of MMA and say, well, that shouldn't have happened. Well, the grease over here, and the this over here, and the water bucket and the ice spilled, and no, it's moved on. The game's been played. It's done. Now, here's what I'm getting at. What people are mostly pointing to is they're saying, does AJ just basically want 20% of his purse? That's the cut to the chase. AJ says, no, I got money.
It doesn't strike me as that type of guy.
Exactly. But the appeal, I guess, kind of contradicted a few of the things that he said. I think maybe that's why he wound up taking it down, and who knows what's going to come of it. But if you think about it, in our interview with Cormier, I was careful in saying, I think in 10 years when you write a book, maybe then you'll kind of giggle it off. If, in fact, this is what took place, he wouldn't even commit to that. Mm-hmm. But I believe if he's smart, there's probably like, no, there is no towel trick. That's that. I weighed in. Fight's done. And I don't blame him one bit for going down that road. Because, if there is an appeal and these commission hearings, you are going to be under an oath. And so you just can't be doing that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kip K. Katie. Sent us a note for our 10-year anniversary. And then we got one yesterday wishing us a happy Easter. So thank you. Now, every time I've either texted her or sent her a message like, thank you, that was nice of you, I've never gotten a reply saying, you're welcome, or wink, or anything. So I just kind of stopped doing it. But I at least want to acknowledge that she's very consistent. I think it's the sweetest thing ever. And she always sends the coolest cards. And I've always said her little writing kind of cracks me up.
It's tiny,
It's cute. It's tiny. It's cute. Yeah.
I can write smaller than that.
Huh?
I can write smaller than that.
You can?
I can write really, really small and have it still be legible.
Plus, I'm reading it so Goes is aware, because it says Garcia family, and sometimes it doesn't make it to Goes. I'm more the male guy in our family. Goes just looks at it and rips it. Everything gets paid automatically. Who knows what he's up to. But that's from Cupcake Katie, and she also wishes you a happy Easter. Happy Easter to everybody on Sunday. Today's Good Friday. If you're Catholic, don't eat meat. If you already did it, well, hopefully you at least forgot and didn't intentionally do it. I think I was offering you a pizza yesterday, but you didn't want it.
I just couldn't.
But now it's out the window now that I just said this.
Anything.
What's that?
No, it's not. You can get
cheese pizza,
pineapple and something, right?
Well, no. There's no ham, bacon, or sausage. There's no meat on Friday. Like if I remember, I really try and practice it, especially on Good Friday. Today's Good Friday. Sunday will be Easter. So anyway, I was saying our guests today are Eddie Wineland, Jay Collier, if he makes it through. Again, the weigh-ins will be happening in about 45 minutes, so us and Big Junkie Page will be battling. Daniel Straus will also join us. He defends his title. He's back after like a year and a half against Patricio Pitbull Frady. 4 times they fought. Patricio is 2-1 against Daniel. Daniel could even the score and also hold on to his title and present the first ever, what do they call it? Pentology?
I think he could.
5 times?
Yeah. I think he could even the score on paper, but I think the only way he can truly even the score is if he finishes Pitbull. Because Pitbull has a finish. Has a finish and a decision. Straus has a decision. So even if
they go
Straus gets
2-2,
another,
you don't consider it even?
No, because if I were Pitbull, I'd go, yeah, you beat me twice, I beat you twice. But
right.
Guess what? A referee had to stop me from finishing you for good.
All right, I'll be Daniel. Yeah, but I hold the belt.
Yeah, but you would have never got the belt if that referee didn't rip me off of you.
But he did, and now I hold the belt.
Okay.
No, but you know what? It'd be 2-2, and they're both young enough that we'd get that 5th fight. Plus the Bellator depth. We've always talked about the fact that it's just they're not deep, and they're a growing organization. So it's not like I'm chastising them for it. But 4 times, same guy. I've thought about it more now, and as much fun as it is, like we'd all like to see McDonald and Lawler and a few of these other Condits and Diaz many times, but those guys having to hype or get hyped up for the same guy, the same game plan, the same blueprint, that kind of must suck. It probably must be a little fresh to get a new name every once in a while.
What they do have going for them is the fights have been good so far, entertaining. So at least they have that.
Yeah.
At least you know you're gonna get a good fight.
Straus will join us in the second hour, as will Johny Hendricks. And we will also be talking about the winner for this week's Matt Moment. Dahlinger Sports Surfaces presents. So we're catching up with Johny Hendricks once a week for most of his camp, just to so he can share another one of his Matt Moments and check in with him like we used to when he was in Vegas. How was your week? What was the focus? 1 or 2 questions, and then boom. He bounces, he goes, he keeps training. He's got Tim Boach ahead of him, like in 2 months. It's the Kevin Lee, Michael Chiesa, Justine Kish, Felice Herrig card. One other good fight on there. No, there's a bunch of them, but there's one other popular. Do you remember?
Is that Al?
No, Aquinta's next week. I'll pull it up. Here we go. It's actually
That
sneaking up
card
nicely.
is-
I've considered
is
wanting to
full
go to
of, full of people that can take another step, right? If Michael Chiesa wins that fight, he takes that next step. If Kevin Lee wins his fight, he takes the next step. Felice Herrig's on a 2-fight win streak, and they need people to step up. If she gets a win, that's 3 in a row. She can take the next step. Johny Hendricks can solidify himself as a middleweight. I mean, that's one of the stronger dudes, power-wise. And isn't that what we say that would hurt Johnny, is if he faced somebody really strong in that division?
Penn and Seaver are on that card. And then there's Queen Latifah. He fights Little Nog. Carla Esparza against Marina Moros. Now, both of them are a little bit further down in that pecking order, but they're still decent names, ranked names in the strawweight division. And then you have Eric Koch versus Clay Guida. Now, they haven't fought as much recently like they used to, but they still carry some name value. So, interesting fight card that they put together out there in Oklahoma City on June 25th. Here are the times for our guests. Eddie Wineland will join us in about 10 minutes. In fact, I should shoot him a reminder. I think I told him I was going to do that. Jay Collier would be at Eddie Wineland, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Jay Collier, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Daniel Straus, 7:20 a.m. Pacific, 10:20 a.m. Eastern. Johny Hendricks, 7:40 a.m. Pacific, 10:40 a.m. Eastern. We'll take your calls like we always do. 866-522-2846. If anyone's awake on the West Coast time zone, Pacific time zone, excuse me. It is live on Friday the 14th. We're just here early, as we explained earlier. Goes is suffering over there, but he's powering through. Goes, I don't know if you've been
I'm
in
going to have a 6-pack by the time the show's over because I'm holding back coughs left and right.
Are you really?
My stomach's like contracting.
Have you seen Conor McGregor, what's happening with him?
A little bit.
He, the owner of many cars, according to his social media, it's kind of like he's been outed a little. I had a suspicion that all those cars weren't his.
A lot of celebrities do that, though.
Right. It's just that's his front. And I think because there's a Mayweather blueprint, and Mayweather does own a lot of his cars, it's like doesn't look good when you do get popped.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, he's Conor. I'm pretty sure he wakes up and realizes he's Conor, and all that doesn't matter. But still, he takes a lot of pictures in front of these cars, and I guess a company in Liverpool, I think I read this right, wasn't too pleased about the fact that he was just standing over one of them and claiming it. And so they basically put out a statement that he doesn't own them, he rents them, and he won't be renting them from that company anymore. Now, aside from that, there's one of those TMZ type websites that at least I came across that says he was like partying for 3 days. And I started thinking, I wonder why. Maybe he's got a kid due. Maybe he's freaking out. I had a buddy who, his kid was due a week to go, and he goes, I'm coming to Vegas. He just needed to blow off steam one more time before he had his kid. He came out, had a good time, went back, and it happened to be that the wife actually went into labor early, but he made it in time. Everything was good. So I don't know if he's freaking out or what. 3 days is a bit much. But, hey, man, I know that you live in another stratosphere, but you're not the first dad. You know what I mean? I mean, you just got to accept it and be ready. Be ready to do it.
Remember what happened with the coat? People were saying that that was rented as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's taking a little flack for that. I thought you were going to bring up, a lot of people have been talking about where the backlash is for the media. That, like, Colin Cowherd, right, is one of the guys that came out and said, this fight's done.
Last
That's
September was supposed to happen, right?
Um,
So the backlash towards Colin Cowherd?
No, well, towards other, because he wasn't the only one. Other media said it's done. These guys are fighting, and it hasn't happened. I don't know that we're that much closer. Other than the only other difference is Dana's now saying that it's probably going to happen. But other than that, do you feel like we're any step closer?
Well, the fact that he's conceding. Before, he had to be the backup quarterback to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl for us to believe that that was more likely.
I still think even if you have all three parties, okay, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, and the UFC, even if all three want to make the fight, you still have three gigantic egos.
Well, that's
And
kind of what's
deals
happening,
do
according to
not
Jeff Mayweather.
happen when people with egos get together.
Out in Buffalo, Dana White said, fuck Jeff Mayweather. And I think FightHype.com, who's close to the Mayweather family, they caught up with Jeff Mayweather. And what he was saying was this. Because Dana said, how'd it go? Dana said that Jeff was implying that there was going to be an 80-20 split between Conor and Floyd, with Floyd getting 80. Jeff said, no, that's not what's holding this deal up. What's holding it up is of Conor's split, because there's the McGregor side and the Floyd side. Of Conor's split, the UFC gets 80 and Conor gets 20. Holy shit. If true, holy shit. But that's what he said. And that would be the holdup. Obviously, I think the holdup would come from Conor. Like, wait a minute, I'm the one that's boxing. Let's at least start at 50 figure and then figure it out. But with Conor's ego, I could see him going 80-20 to the UFC. So let's just throw out random numbers. I guess the easy one is 100 million. Floyd gets 50, the other side gets 50. 80% of 50 would be 40 for the UFC, 10 for Conor. That ain't gonna work because Conor can do MMA for 10 million and defend his titles. Granted, it's still $10 million. So let's go with 200 million because I don't know if 100 million is even enough for all these guys.
That's different, though. It's boxing. He can get all the sponsorship he wants, right? That number on the other side would be way more than what he would get on the MMA side.
This is true.
So where he may take a hit.
And that might be guaranteed, plus pay-per-views.
Yeah, I'm making relatively what I'm making in MMA.
Yeah.
Here, who knows if I'll take as much damage as I could in an MMA fight. And I could probably bring in a big sponsor, like a Corona or a Guinness. I mean, think about how much money Guinness would give him.
All right, so you're right. But we're going to leave bonuses and stuff like that to the side, but that's a very good point. So I'm going to go with $200 million. I think the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight was a $400 million fight. Let's say this is a $200 million fight. Floyd gets $100 million. I could see him retiring for $100 million to box against a guy that's never boxed professionally, right? Mm-hmm. That's probably an easy night for him. Then the other side gets $100 million. So what Jeff is saying is the UFC gets 80, Conor gets 20. As crazy as this sounds, I could see the UFC saying that's the opening number as they talk to the McGregor team. Because I don't think Conor makes $20 million a fight. I think he probably makes 10. So they're saying, hey, man, we're done. You shouldn't even be doing this, but we're going to do it for you. We're going to give you double what you normally make. That's their opening pitch to the McGregor team. And then the McGregor team obviously fires back, and then they go from there. So I wonder if those are the numbers, something like that.
What about, do you know?
Then the UFC makes money, and that's why they promote this. What's that?
This fight has to be an exhibition of some sort, right? 10 rounds, something like that?
I would say so.
Okay. Does that count towards Floyd Mayweather's professional career record?
Yeah, otherwise I don't think he would do it.
It does count?
Yeah.
Does it count in the eyes of everyone else?
I used to think it was going to be an exhibition, but the commission was pretty clear that they would sanction it. What they said was there's something along the lines of when there's a lot of money involved, this is just going to happen. I thought they were going to look and say, how can a guy that's 49-0 versus a guy that's 0-0, how can we do this? We can't. So that's why I was saying it's probably going to be exhibition,
But they
8,
did
10
it the
rounds.
other way around, right?
What's that?
They did it the other way around with James Toney.
James Toney was able to say that his experience in boxing and I forget what else, maybe he said he wrestled in high school, would be enough, and so they fudged. I mean, like I said, if it involves a lot of money, they'll make it happen. But so they may still do a professional bout for 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds. Who knows?
Well,
yeah,
people look in the history books though and go, "All right, you got the most wins," but
probably. But the 50 and
I
0.
think it's ballsy that he's taken that. I would just give it to him.
What?
Him taking that fight, I would just count it as if any other dude showed up.
We should take this break. We got to get with Eddie Wineland. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We're going to talk to Eddie Wineland when we come back, and if we don't, and we'll jump on your calls. A couple already on hold. Some legends in MMA Junkie Radio history on hold. So stay close, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
All right, coming up here in about a week is UFC Fight Night 108. Eddie Wineland will be getting down on that. Goes, you know how a corn-fed hillbilly gets down, right?
I love that line.
He gets down against John Dodson. It's April 22nd at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. Joining us now is former WEC bantamweight champ Eddie Wineland. What's up, Eddie? How you doing?
What's happening, guys? How are you?
Good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's been a little while, huh?
It has, my man. I'll tell you what, though.
I started to think you guys forgot about me.
No, not that at all. It's just the growth of the sport. So many organizations to cover, man. It's crazy.
I get it.
You know, yesterday I don't know how I came across it. I put in your name, obviously, when we locked in the time, and I just wanted to see a few things of, you know, what's going on with your social media and everything. But somehow I stumbled on an interview you did in 2011. Bro, it was great, man. It was really, really good. And you know, you actually, when you told us the corn-fed hillbilly, I thought it was just you kind of talking smack, but you really kind of are out there in a small town, and that's your style. And in the interview,
that's exactly. I have one neighbor. Around me, and then there's nothing but cornfields, literally to the north, the east, and the south of me. And I have one neighbor on the west of me, and he's into the same thing as me: guns, fast cars, all anything loud, anything that makes noise and is obnoxious. He's into the same stuff, so we get along great and kind of do whatever we want out there.
Yeah, and so apparently, so when you do get into the bigger cities, you're just not feeling it. You don't like being around. It's not that you hate people, but
exactly.
Crowds, right?
I'm in the middle of Chicago right now, and just the traffic, the people, just being in big crowds, it kind of irritates me.
So now I kind of get it a little bit. You are just a country boy, and you done the firefighter and fighting, and that's your thing, and guns and cars, like you said, and your dogs. But other than that, leave Eddie Wineland alone. Don't come creeping up to his house.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't bite your hand off if you try and talk to me. I mean, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I mean, I like talking to people, but getting into big crowds and big cities, that's not my niche.
That was pretty cool to see, man. You said, hey, I bought a house, and this is where I'll be. I'm never going anywhere. You have no temptation. And so that explains kind of like why you've kind of stuck with the same team. You've never really, like, left to go to another team and reinvent yourself or find new coaches or anything like that.
Absolutely. You know, and that's not that I haven't reinvented myself, because I have. I've reformed myself numerous times through the gym that I'm at. You know, these guys that I'm fighting, they're training to fight Eddie Wineland, but that Eddie Wineland they're training to fight doesn't exist anymore, because I'm constantly changing. Anybody who watches me fight, they can watch my movement and think that they understand it, but to be honest with you, I don't even understand it. I just move. And I react. You know, wherever I move, wherever I land, if there's an opening, I throw it. If there's not, I just move and I create another opening.
This story also tied into what happened with your younger brother, and not that led to you being a firefighter or anything like that. But like I said, it just kind of finding out more about your personal story was really, really interesting. I'm going to retweet it after the show. I think a lot of people would like to know a little bit more about you. Sometimes these cards come up so frequently. It's just Eddie Wineland's fighting John Dodson. That's it, and then boom, we move on. And I think we need to go ahead.
There's so many people fighting now, and there's so many fights going on that it is. I mean, you look at the big boxing matches. You don't see anything promoted about them until like 2 weeks before the event.
Right.
The hardcore boxing fans, they know when the big names are fighting, but to your average guy just watching TV, it's like, oh, well, that fight's in 2 weeks. And I think there's so many fighters and so many fights happening now that it's essentially the same thing. Not that it's a bad thing, but you really got to be on top of your game if you're a hardcore fan.
So, catching everybody up, you a gun enthusiast, fast cars. What's your favorite fast car that you have or that you'd like to get your hands on someday?
I've only got one fast car. I'd like to have more, but being married with 2 kids and having a aquarium stingray addiction that costs a lot of money only allows me to have one car. But that one car I do have it's a '93 Mustang. We threw a 6-liter Chevy motor in it. It's got a big S480 turbo on it. Last time we were at the track, I think I went 927 at 151 with it, and that's bouncing off the rev limiter in first. So, I mean, it's an easy 8-second car. So, going from 0 to 155 in a quarter mile is that's what does it for me.
So you could take Dana in one of his Lamborghinis then.
All day. All day.
How many dogs do you have, and what are their breeds?
Line the Lamborghini up, and we'll run them. If I beat you, I get it.
Damn.
That's got to be one of those looking for a fight episodes,
For
right?
pink slips, yeah. We got to get Dana White out to Indiana. It's like northern Indiana where he lives. And if there's a promotion going out, that would be a nice little subplot there.
I love that.
Hey, but you better be able to back it up, though, because he'll take your car.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't doubt that. It's I've never owned a car that fast, so I'm still I need a little more seat time in it. That would explain the bouncing off the rev limiter in first. I didn't quite grab second fast enough. So I need a little more seat time before we actually make that happen.
How many dogs do you have, and what are their breeds?
How many dogs?
Yeah.
I have 2 dogs currently. Both of them have their own little quirks. I've battled with the idea of just getting rid of dogs. But at the same time, I love them and I hate them. So I have 2. I have a big one. I have a little one. We have a little. They're both pit bulls. Mm-hmm. Moose is about 100 pounds, and we call her Minnie. She's about 40 pounds.
What are their quirks that drive you nuts?
Moose, he drools a lot. He scratches the hell out of my floor. We got our entire house is hickory hardwood, and the added character that he has put in my floor is it's unsightly to say the least. And then Minnie's really not bad. She's starting to develop a digging problem in my yard, and when I'm riding the lawnmower and develop a foot deep hole just by hitting it with the lawnmower, it kind of pisses me off.
That's pretty funny. We're joined by Eddie Wineland, who's fighting John Dodson at UFC Fight Night 108 in Nashville, Tennessee. I pulled up the map. I mean, I know the United States. I've traveled, but I wanted to be exact, and I thought, I wonder if he's bummed that he's not fighting in KC. But it looks like where you're at is it's called Westville, right?
Yeah, Westville, Chesterton. I graduated from Chesterton High School.
So that looks to be almost the same distance to Nashville as it would have been to Kansas City. So I don't think nothing's lost there, right?
What's that?
The distance you're traveling to Nashville would have been the same as to go to Kansas City. So you're kind of in your neck of the woods there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How do a lot of people travel to your fights, and maybe the people you work with or family or friends?
I got a few people that are traveling down for the fight. I don't think there's a whole plethora of people, but there's a handful.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, you've been doing this for a long time. We talked to Rob Emerson the other day.
A long time.
And at one point, because of the broken jaws, you were considering not fighting anymore, but you're back. You've won a couple fights in a row, and you're still only 32 years old. But I just wonder, is the love still there? The fire still there?
Absolutely. It's when I broke my jaw with Johnny Eduardo, I had a lot on my plate. My fiance at the time was pregnant with our first. We were building a house. I was trying to build a pole barn. Way too many irons in the fire. I just my head wasn't in the game, so I paid the price for it. And then with the Caraway fight, mentally I was there, but subconsciously I wasn't ready to let my hands go or to test my jaw. And then after my boys were born, it kind of relit that fire to prove to these kids that, hey, your dad got knocked down. Just because you get knocked down, you keep moving forward. Get up, you move forward, you make it happen. You do what you got to do to get there. And I've always loved fighting. That's not to say that there wasn't sometimes I hated it and just didn't want to do it. They say the best way to take something you love and hate it is to make it a job. I think there's some truth to that. I'll tell you some of my my funnest days of fighting was when I first started fighting. I was fighting for $600 in my backyard. It was the greatest thing in the world. I get to beat this guy up, and you're going to pay me $600. Well, they start dangling thousands of dollars in front of your face, and all of a sudden you don't want to do it anymore. It's like, oh, I have to do this. This is my job now, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, since the boys being born, and obviously I got mouth to feed, a roof to keep over the head, that's part of my motivation. But at the same time, I love to fight. I'm not good. I could sit here and do the Rocky thing if I can't sing or dance, so I had to fight. But you know, I can kind of sing and kind of dance, but not enough to make me any money.
So Eddie's got 23 wins, folks. He's a former WEC champion in the bantamweight division. Of those 23 wins, 19 have been finishes. You don't want to blink here, man. Both of these guys get down. John Dodson, a quality opponent, and again, it's going down in about 8 days. It's not tomorrow. It's a week from Saturday. Goes. What do you have for Eddie Wineland?
Yeah.
Eddie, when you look over your record, it's a who's who of mixed martial artists. When you look at John Dodson, is he bringing anything to the table that you haven't seen in any of these previous fights?
You know, I look at Dodson kind of like Benavidez. He's very fast. He's small, but he's very fast. And, you know, that's just the size. The size isn't to be overlooked because he's been fighting guys that are bigger than him his entire career. He went down to 25 and fought guys that were his size and had very good success. He's had good success at 135. You know, I just think that as soon as I find a home for my right hand or even my left hand, I think he's going to realize he's in for trouble. Because he claims he's never been knocked out, but neither had Jorgensen when I fought him. Everybody I put my hands on, they all fall down. Whether they stay down or get back up, I'm going to knock them right back down. I think he brings a speed factor. He moves a lot. I move a lot. So it's going to be a matter of who finds a home first.
You love guns. You love fast cars. Can any of these things give you that same rush that fighting gives you?
You know, man, I don't know if I should say it on the radio, and I haven't done it in a long time, but the one thing that gave me close to the same rush was skydiving. I've jumped out of a plane, 24, 25 times. Now, it's obviously nothing to bat an eye at, but I mean, who's jumped out of a plane by themselves with a parachute attached to their back? And it's a rush, man, to say the least. If you've never been skydiving, I highly recommend it. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but I mean, it's been a few years since I've done it, so it's a blast. It's a rush. Not quite the same as punching a guy in the head and watching him fall down, but it'll definitely wake you up.
Who would you get in trouble with?
Possibly the higher ups. I don't know.
Oh, I see. It could be a contract thing.
These, yeah, I think so. But I just signed a new contract, so I was under old contract when I was doing that.
There you go. I thought maybe you know, your significant other, your wife. She's
the one to blame for that. It was
okay.
all her doing. I've wanted to skydive since I was 16. Actually, since I was younger. My Uncle Paul, he's got thousands of jumps. He used to jump back when I was a little kid, and I remember going to the drop zone and watching him jump and thinking, man, that'd be cool. And I wanted to do it, just never did it. And she bought me a gift certificate to go do it. And, well, luckily, a guy named Ruth Nelson, he owns Skydive Chicago. He was a big MMA fan. And I got to meet him, and we got to talking a little bit. And he took me through the course, and you know, for anybody who's a skydiver, they all know who Ruth Nelson is. His dad, Roger Nelson, was a legend in the sport, and so I learned to skydive from one of the best.
Did you have to do the first one tandem?
I did. Yeah, you have to do 2 tandems. You have to do 2 tandems, then you go through a course, and then you get 25 jumps till you're A license. I got all the way to my A license, and then I just never applied for it. I kind of realized that with 2 boys. You know, once you get your license, it's not super expensive, but I mean, at $25 a jump, if I go and jump in a weekend and I jump 8 times, well, that's $200. $200 gone on the weekend, and trying to be a responsible adult or responsible dad and put some money away, that's not really going to help me a whole lot.
And how high up did you jump, and what was your highest jump by yourself?
13,500 feet.
Wow. So the only
Actually,
way...
you know what? I take that back. We went to 14,000 one time.
That's nuts. Can you imagine if Eddie could hit his quinella? A quinella is basically when you go to the horses and you bet on 4. Imagine he jumps out of the plane, and then when he lands, he gets in his car, he races somebody, right? And they get out, they fight, and then Eddie kind of gets jumped because he's won the fight and everything's gone well. He won the race, he won the pink slips. So as these guys jump him, he realizes he's got his gun, and he gets to shoot a couple bad guys. That would be it. That'd be the perfect day for the guy.
Pretty good.
I hope that doesn't
That's
happen.
an action movie if I've ever heard one.
It is. All right, buddy. Well, listen, I know you're heading out right now, but thanks so much for squeezing us in. You got a busy week, and obviously we'll be checking you out at UFC Fight Night 108 next Saturday. Thanks, as always, for the time, and let's catch up more often.
Absolutely. Always a blast. Sounds great.
All right. Take care, Eddie. See ya.
All right. Take care, fellas.
That's Eddie Wineland, former WEC Bantamweight champ. Big fight coming up, and you could just tell in his voice, man, he is ready to go. He's having fun. It's like a new chapter in his life. 2-fight win streak, ready to get back at it there. Win over Dodson definitely has him in some big contender fights. We're going to take this last break. When we come back, we'll get some of these killers on the line. Good callers, friends of the show, all on lines 1, 2, and 3. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, let's get to it. Starting things off here with the calls is Buffalo Blue in North Carolina. What's up, Blue?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Good, and you?
Doing good. So I wanted to touch on the McGregor, Mayweather thing just real quick. I think the fact that we haven't heard McGregor and the UFC really come out against each other, and if anything, Dana's kind of started saying, hey, I see this fight happening. I think if there was a money dispute, Conor is, going to take to Twitter, or he's going to do an interview or something, complaining about the UFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, I think that, they've got to get the fight. They got to promote the fight. You're talking, I think September is when they're shooting for. Also, the UFC's motivated by, sure, they want to get paid from this, but they also want to get Conor back in the cage. The sooner he gets through Mayweather, the sooner you can start, getting him back in the cage. And I actually think that'll be part of the negotiation, is how quick he'll come back to the UFC after it.
They Mayweather likes to fight in May and in September. Those are his dates. So September does sound realistic, and at that point, I think McGregor, with as active as he can be, once he starts fighting, I could see him fighting like at the end of the year, which would basically be just over a year since when he won the fight or when he won the belt from Eddie Alvarez. I could probably handle that because he was so active before it, and because he probably brought a lot of eyeballs by then in that MMA boxing match. But it'll be funny to see. I think Conor's got a bigger ego than a lot of people think when it comes to the money side. Whereas before, when it was like, oh yeah, the boss is Ferrari, we're having steaks, we're doing this, he's the man, he's this. Hell no, I think he probably thinks Dana, it would be his honor to ride in my Ferrari now and me treat him to a steak. So it'll be interesting to see if Jeff Mayweather's onto something, just how much that friction, how much friction there's going to be because of that disparity there of the 80-20. Will Conor feel like it's 50-50? I don't know. Now, what I can tell you, though, Blue, is I think the UFC is looking to make as much as they would make on a Conor fight. So if their cut is 50 million, 80 million, then they'll treat it. That'll be income to them, revenue to them, like had he fought.
Yeah, I agree. And that's free. Yeah, that's straight profit for them, on a fight with Mayweather, at least, versus having to. They're not really going to have to cover much expenses, except losing a Conor fight's really the expense, and they can hopefully cover that with everything. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting, but I think we'll have an announcement probably in the next 60 days because you're going to need to do a promotional tour and stuff like that. So I would imagine everything's going down the right path, or you would hear all the sides being much louder about how it's not going well. So
yeah. Now I will say this: when they did Pacquiao and Mayweather, that was only with like 2 months to go, and they were able to pull off what they did. So at least they should be comfortable that, like Blue said, 60 days would put us in June. So even if by June or July they have an announcement to make, they can still pull it off because they pulled off the other one. But the more time, the better. And I think it would make some of these lightweights less uneasy. They're wondering, what the fuck? What are we doing here? In the meantime, I wouldn't blame them one bit for doing an interim in this instance, just because I really feel like, I mean, who knows? Maybe Conor will make so much money he may bounce altogether.
That's what I think was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. He loves combat, though. All right, Blue. Good to hear from you, as always.
He'll do. All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, buddy. All right, so it's not enough time to squeeze in the next guy. We'll get them when we come back from break. You're listening to MMAjunkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. This is a live edition, an early live edition on a Friday, April 14th. Still got an hour to go. And we'll also be giving you updates on the weigh-ins that are taking place for UFC on Fox 24. See you in a few minutes. Day into nighttime, turning night into daytime if you see it. All right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show, and I'm going to get right to it because they've been on hold for a while. A couple callers, and if you want to join the party, now's the best time because we'll probably finish up with a few interviews. 866-522-2846. Also, if you want to split your screen or open up another one, the UFC weigh-in should be taking place right about now. All the fighters from UFC on Fox 24, including Demetrius Johnson and Wilson Hayes, will be weighing in for the next 2 hours. Depending on the commission, they'll come in, and that should be it. You get the one shot at it, and if you don't make 125 in their case, then there is no title fight unless they have some sort of an addendum like what New York had, where the champions would get the additional 2 hours. Who knows? I don't know what the rules are. That's the confusing thing, is we're not level across not just the United States and all the provinces in Canada. Felt like we were at one point very, very close to that, minus a couple linear kicks here and foot stomps there. But it's a little confusing. Do you remember that show in Brazil where they were instituting some of the new rules, but I think for the knee you were still allowed to put the one. Yeah. John Anik went out of his way to explain that, and I'm thinking, damn, if you're a fighter, like look at Cynthia Cavillo. She went back-to-back pay-per-views, but like what if you were in a situation like that where, as all this is happening, that controlled chaos situation inside of an octagon, you may not be able to remember all that. I don't think it should be like that. That's why I want it to be across the board, consistent.
A lot of rhythm that goes with fighting, and if you can't get that rhythm down because things are constantly changing, it can be a bad recipe.
That said, I do like the 2 fists or palm rule, honestly. All right, Aaron from Minnesota. What's up, man?
What's up? Blue kind of stole part of my question or topic because, with Conor, I mean, his value to the UFC has grown every time he's fought, and he's been fighting like 3 times a year. When this is all said and done, the UFC could miss out on 2 Conor fights, basically, within a year's time. So I agree with you, George. I think they're going to want to get what they would make with Conor in there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they don't want to piss him off enough to where he's just not going to come back and not fight MMA again. But let me ask you this. What if there's like controversy or, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a close fight, but let's just say it is. And it's like has enough attention and people watching to want to see another one. Then what happens?
If the UFC can make money, they will get right behind it. So more than likely controversy will... what that'll mean for part 2 is that it'll be even bigger than part 1, in my opinion. So therefore, I think the UFC would just back it, and they basically give Dana a script, say this, and then he says it. It was too close to call. How can I say no to this kid? He's answered the phone every single time. Listen, of all the people I've ever dealt with, Conor's never, not one time told me that he won't fight. So we got to do this for this kid. He's asking for it. The first one had controversy. Let's do it again because it'll make them a lot of money, And obviously, you stated it would be a long shot for that to happen. So I don't think we'll have to deal with it. I think it's just a once-in-a-lifetime type thing. Plus, anything that threatens Floyd at the same time. So if it was close, if you meant that type of controversy, who knows if he'll want to risk 50-0 at that point.
Right. Well, and I think what will happen, too, is whether it's boxing, people are in the boxing realm or fans watching the build-up, the microphone's going to be in front of Dana White, too. So it may lead them to wanting to watch old Conor fights and wanting to watch UFC fights. So it could help the UFC out. One question I'll take off there. A lot of people seeing guys that could potentially go to Bellator or other organizations, some of the top fighters, whether it's Mousasi or whatnot. Do you like that? Do you want all the fighters to be in the same organization? Do you want the UFC to be a monopoly, or do you want the fighters to go get paid? I'll take it off there.
Okay. That's a great question.
Very tough question because we've had that situation before with Pride and UFC, and for the most part, I don't think there weren't. I mean, you didn't stay up awake wishing, can Chuck fight Vanderlei already? I mean, yeah, from time to time, yeah, I wish it would happen, but I think I was pretty cool with having two separate entities like that because I feel like eventually they would match up somehow, some way.
What would be cool is, in a perfect world, if we had the 2 different promotions, but one promotion would send a fighter. Maybe it doesn't have to be their top guy, but like when the UFC sent Chuck, that was pretty cool. Dream also had a relationship like that with Strikeforce. They did that. I thought that was pretty cool too. So, I want the fighters to get what they're worth for sure, but that requires free agency, and that also requires the risk that the UFC may not match. Therefore, these great fighters now start going to another organization. If that helps build up that organization, and maybe at one point we have something like a Raw and a SmackDown where both nights are great, at least according to pro wrestling fans, then even better. But at least Raw and SmackDown, I believe at WrestleMania, they do match up their stars. And that's something that we always want to know. Well, who's best? Mm-hmm. Now, it could be that if they're going back and forth enough, then maybe questions will get answered here and there. Of the two eras, the early UFC versus Pride and UFC when they basically owned it all, I got to admit, I preferred the UFC when they owned it all. Because I got all the matchups I ever wondered about. So I loved them both, but I think I like that one a little bit more.
It's very hard to compare because back then there were less cards also with the UFC. So I think today I would prefer what you're talking about, everyone under one banner, I guess, now that I think about it. But going back then it was fun because there wasn't as many cards. The shelf life for a fighter was a lot longer. Now the shelf life is very shorter.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would side with, I hope they keep Jacare and Mousasi. And from what I'm hearing, at least according to Jacare, he's saying they're very, very close. He stressed they were very close. The numbers are close to where he wants them. So to me, it sounds like he'll stay. And then Mousasi really wants that UFC title. He's also been outside the UFC many times. And it's now whether the UFC agrees with him that he should get paid the type of money he's looking for. And I don't know. I start thinking of Dan Henderson made $800,000 in one of his final fights, and I think that's what Mark Hunt won or made. So I wonder if he's thinking that, or if maybe a $500,000's good, or half of that's good. Dana White said the guy's not selling out arenas, but he has headlined or co-headlined 12 of his 13 fights, and the one he didn't was UFC 200, in which he volunteered to fight DC, if you recall, before Anderson Silva stepped in. So he may not be selling out arenas, but no, I mean, even then, pretty much everywhere Dana goes, he says, we broke the record. You know, he says it a lot. I can imagine if the 13 Gegard was involved in, one of them broke it, and therefore he was involved in that. Now, was it just him? Who knows? But that's just the promoter hat he has to wear, and it rubs people the wrong way because he comes in so hard on the one side. You know what I mean? And so, hell, another good question would be, do you like that, or do you prefer the commissioner that just stands there and says, we will address that when the time is appropriate, or do you like a guy that, you know, rolls up his sleeves and slams his fighters and promotes this and talks shit and this, that, whatever? Which of the two do you like?
I like them both, but I like it when he stays within his realm. I don't like when he goes out of the UFC and starts challenging people in boxing and celebrity stuff like that.
But if I told you that's just him, do you prefer that or Roger Goodell or one of the other commissioners that is just kind of isn't really going to give you much?
A year ago, give me Roger Goodell. Now give me Dana White.
Yeah.
The sport's more accepted now, and I think we're in a good spot, whereas a couple years ago, I think still some of his antics were ammunition for other people to knock the sport down.
Yeah, he pisses me off from time to time. Just because he's my age, so part of me wishes I had his money. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I do wish I had his money, but I'm not kidding in that, oh my God, I'm green in envy, even though I'm wearing green. What I mean is, when someone grows up in the same era as you, you just kind of like, what's up, you know? You ever see two black people that don't know each other and they just go, what's up, like that?
Two guys on a motorcycle?
Same thing, yeah. The motorcycles, they I think they stick two fingers out. They just go, hello, you know, like that's how they greet each other. Same thing, man. People in eras, they just kind of like, yeah, I get you, without having to say, in our time, or whatever. So I can just read bullshit, and therefore when he says it, I'm like, oh man, this guy, you know? I feel like he's like a distant buddy of mine. Yeah, a little bit of that.
In
well,
my day.
not so much that, but it's just like, I feel. You know what I feel like saying? Pay me some money, and every once a week I'll sit down and tell you what was stupid and what was like. Because here's what I think is, I really feel like he could still be that guy, goes, but like, damn, man, just tone down this or tweak that, and you would be good. There's people that are chomping at the bit that whatever he says, they just can't wait to strip it down and destroy it. And I think he could protect himself. Like, did he really need to say, there's a better chance of me being the backup quarterback? Because that's all he's going to have to hear for the next. Now, it could be that he don't give a fuck. And those types of quotes is what obviously stimulates stuff. But I think he could probably still exaggerate and not give somebody a soundbite for someone to throw back at him. Because eventually it does get to him. He can say it does or it doesn't. Eventually it does get to him. I've seen him blow up. So he has to realize that promoter hat he wears, just a lot of stuff comes with the territory. But he comes with the media and the fans a lot. And if he only knew what it was like on our side. Like, bitch, you ain't a choir boy. You ain't the most perfect fella to follow either. You're quite entertaining, and what you've done is amazing. But again, just there's a couple times where you just feel like he could dabble in certain ways, and I think all would be good. And he wouldn't, and he wouldn't be Roger Goodell or Adam Silver. Hal in Chicago, what's up, man?
Hey, every time I hear controversy, I think of the late Rick Budo, man. Rest in peace. Remember? Controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got 9.5 hours of sleep, a little jacked up. But you guys are a little bit of you're a bit of an imperialist, Gigi. You know that. I was thinking, I agree with you. I kind of want just UFC and everybody to be under the UFC, and then I think, wow, that's kind of like the imperialist attitude. We think we got the best shit, so let's just go out and get everyone else's and just make us one big great country and imperialist power, you know. Mm-hmm. But obviously we're not talking about killing people. The other thing is that will never happen because what is it with the other professional sports that they manage to work their way in a position where not just everyone can go into the state of Nevada and do a professional football game, right? I mean, you can't just say like, hey, or maybe you can, you know, we're the HFL, you know, I'm the Hal Football League. I'm going to start the Hal Football League. I mean, something tells me that that's going to be very difficult. So, like, these other sports have no competition, but it's not – I feel like that's not an accident. And in the fight game, it's still very much the Wild West. So it's, you know, whatever, man. You want to come in here and do a little rinky-dink promotion, go right ahead. You know, does that have anything to do with it?
Other sports have associations that protect them.
They have lobbyists. They have all these politicians working for them, right? So they get to cock block any competitors. I mean, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And finally, tomorrow, I can't wait, the main event of the evening. Jorge Gamebred Masvidal against Damian Maia, the guy who just won't go away. You know, this guy is easy to root. It's easy to root for both of them, and I love both of them. But finally, we're going to get a guy who has takedown defense. I mean, I know he might get Jorge on the ground for a round, but he can't hold him there forever, man. And he's going to put hands on him.
But did you say it's tomorrow, Hal? It's not tomorrow. It's a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, I still got that Silverchair song in my head tomorrow, so maybe that's what I was thinking. But next week is going to be the main event in the evening.
Yeah,
and
I think the winner.
I see Jorge coming out on top.
The winner might get Woodley because GSP's still tied to Bisping, even though Bisping's starting to squirm a little bit, you know, saying, hey, I want to fight. I respect that for him, too, for kind of putting GSP a little bit on blast. You know, he says he'll take Romero at this point. Romero's saying that Anderson declined him. Anderson's saying he would fight Romero or Diaz. Who knows? Who knows what the fuck the truth is? But I guess if there weren't all that bullshit going on behind the scenes, maybe this job wouldn't be as interesting.
Round one of that fight is going to be so important.
Sweet.
If Jorge can get up 1-0 on Maia, he's going to force him to have to open up a little bit. Whoever wins
Maya's
round
gas
one
tank
is going to take the other guy out of his game.
His gas tank, too. There's been times where it's looked good and you feel like he addressed it, and there's times where he reverts. And, you know, you're right. If he can get that first round, boy, is he in a big of a lead. But if Damian always banks that first round, and usually the second and then the third, if he just doesn't get knocked out, you know, or eventually he gets some sort of a takedown, he can hold you down, and that's it. It's a wrap. He steals everyone's soul. But Jorge has to get that first round.
Yeah, and he will have problems because he's more of a counter puncher, and Maya is he just I wouldn't put it past him to not throw a single punch. I'm just gonna be in your face all day, try and stop me, and so that will be a challenge. I'm not saying it's gonna be a blowout, but I got Jorge in that one, man.
All right,
I hope he's an underdog. Do you guys see it on the board yet? No, probably not.
Not on the board, but I believe he will be an underdog for sure.
Sweet. All right, guys. Have
All
a good
right,
weekend.
we'll see how. All right, folks, we're going to take our break here. First break of the second hour. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll be talking to Bellator's featherweight champion Daniel Straus, who has a fight coming up at Bellator 178 against Patricio Pitbull Freire. You like that, Ghost? Patricio.
No.
We'll be right back after this break. Stay close. Thanks.
Time ticks by.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here are George and Goes.
Goes, do you think Daniel Strauss has seen Star Wars?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with he hasn't. Do you want to bet Chipotle when you're healthy?
Yeah, for sure. I feel pretty confident about this one.
Really?
Uh-huh.
All right, let's ask him. The featherweight champion at Bellator MMA, who's defending his belt on April 21st versus Patricio Pitbull Frady, joins us now on MMAjunkie Radio. What's up, Daniel? How you doing?
What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
We're doing all right, man. How about you?
I'm all right, hanging in there, ready to get to business.
Before we get to that, can you settle a bet for us?
Yep, got you.
Have you ever seen the movies?
Seen it.
Yes.
He's never seen it?
He says he has not seen it, yeah.
Oh, man, this just isn't my week.
Yeah.
I never have. I never was a Star Wars guy, man.
Well, for one, Star Wars is a 1976 movie. And I know it's a classic. It's been around for a long time. But I thought I had age going for me because Daniel's in his early 30s. One, and two, just a lot of times, a lot of athletes, especially from combat sports, they sometimes just kind of disconnect from, pop culture or whatever. So that's why I had a feeling that he may not have seen that movie.
Nah, definitely I just didn't. I grew up, actually, I'd seen like a couple when I was a kid, but I never got into the whole series and stuff like that, so.
Wait, so you have seen
So
some?
talking about Patricio Pitbull, right? What's that?
So he has seen some.
Hey, yeah, you got to be explicit here. You either have or you haven't.
Like bits and pieces. Like bits and pieces. Never watched the whole movie.
Ghost doesn't want to pay me Chipotle. That was the bet.
I'll give it to you because he hasn't seen the whole thing.
Hey, what's your favorite movie of all time, or do you have like three if you can't narrow it down?
Of all time, I'd say Righteous Kill is a good movie. I like that movie. I don't know. Snatch. That was a great movie.
What was the first one?
Righteous Kill.
Oh, Righteous Kill. Okay. And Snatch. You have a third?
I don't really have a third off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Been a while, man. This is probably the longest you've been out. You were the one guy that used to fight very frequently. For one, even before the tournaments, and then of course the tournaments used to keep you busy. So we just haven't been used to this kind of layoff.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. I'm more than excited to get back into there. Hopefully this year can be a good year where I can get a couple more fights in. But yeah, it's definitely been a while. I'm more than excited to get fight again.
What was the complications with your injury, or was there other stuff that happened as well? Like we're closing in on 18 months.
Yeah. See, the first time we did the surgery, I had rotation in my bone. So, one was rolling one way, the other part was rolling the other way, and it kind of bent the metal. So it wasn't healing right. So when we went back in, we did a bone graft, laid another plate, 6 screws, and the bone still wasn't healing properly. So I think it was more just the therapy that I was doing and whatnot. So when we went in the third time, laid another plate, did another bone graft, 6 more screws, and just thankfully that time it worked. So that's pretty much what it was.
Daniel, if you can land a punch on Pitbull's jaw and break it, and let's just say you have KO of the year, would it almost be worth breaking your hand again? Like, is it that sweet of a shot and that sweet of a feeling that even if there's collateral damage, you'll take it, or is that just something you don't want to revisit anymore?
I'll take it all day. I just like the fight game. So, it sucked being out this long, but to knock him out would definitely be worth it.
I had a feeling you'd say that one too, because I watch a lot of the backstage stuff that Bellator produces, the UFC produces, and you guys are still on a high, even when you're backstage and they're looking at you, and sometimes they're gonna sew you guys up or send you to the hospital, and but you guys are talking about, yeah, I broke it, and it's like no big deal because you're on this high that just takes, I don't know how long it takes for you to come off. But you're just on this high that can't be replicated by anything.
Yeah, it takes a while, man. Like, I really didn't, I don't know, it didn't phase me that my hand was broken until maybe like a day later. Then I realized, like, oh, shit, this is going to be a while before I'm fighting again. So, just the whole fighting part of it, though, it's exciting, this whole trilogy that I have with Pitbull, it brings a new element to it. So, going in there, even getting hurt, is always worth it to me because, we have such a backstory and such a history that, we know each other. He doesn't like me. I don't like him. He thinks he's better than me. I know he's not better than me. So, getting hurt fighting is just a small part of the joy of, being able to beat him.
Well, it helps that you don't like each other, because one thing that must suck is training for the same guy.
Yeah. It's rough, man. It's been one of those things where, excuse me, got a little thing in my voice, but it's hard because it's the same guy. You know what I mean? You don't usually when you train for somebody, it's somebody new each time.
Right.
And I know who he is. He knows who I am. I know what he's good at. He knows what I'm good at. So, you pick up, small things in your camp that you have to get better at, small things that you got to tweak. And, I've went back to the tapes numerous times, just watching our fights over and over and over. What did I do well? What did he do well? What can I change? So it makes it complicated. It makes it very unique. So it's just different. I don't know many people that's fought somebody 4 times at all. So, I'm glad I can bring that to the sport, but it doesn't make it like something more. I just hope I can have an entertaining fight. You know what I mean? I hope I can bring out what I've been bringing out in each one of our fights, and that's just a great fight.
Even though you dislike him, you got to admit, him and his brother make the sport fun. I mean, these guys got beef with Syed Awad and Georgie Karakhanyan, Michael Chandler, yourself. But me as a fan, I kind of watch and I kind of laugh my ass off just that these guys, I don't know if we call them instigators or bad guys or thugs or mean muggers or what, man. But to me, they make it kind of fun to fight week. They make it kind of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll say that about them. We have enough respect for each other. They definitely, the brothers bring enough to the sport to make you want to watch them. I think I bring enough to the sport to make you want to watch our fights over and over. No matter how they go. And it's just one of those things that he's just another person that's in front of me. So that's all I really think about.
Goes, what do you have for the champ, Daniel Straus?
Daniel, how long did it take you to have full confidence in the hand in training?
Wow. Let's see. I had my last one popped back. My last surgery back in June. I wasn't throwing it till maybe the end of September, October. So quite a while, And even when I first threw it, it wasn't fully like comfortable with it. But after a couple sparring sessions, I was back at it. So maybe a little over a year, a little over a year and a half.
A win here for you would put you guys even at 2-2. Would you even consider a 5th fight, or do you feel like this is pretty much it?
Right now, I think it's it. You know what I mean? I think we need to move on and get some of these new guys in there and if a lot of people that haven't noticed, this is like the end of an era. You know what I mean? The end of the old Bellator era. So, I'm excited to get this fight over with, and once it's over with, we'll see what happens down the road. But right now, I think it's good to get some fresh faces in there, and some more fights, some newer fights.
Why would you say it's the end of an era?
Mostly because it's like, we first seen each other. Actually, when I first fought for Bellator, he fought Warren that night for the tournament. And now that that's not around, I just feel like that's the end of that era of Bellator. So we don't have that around. Some of the guys that are coming up have no idea how tough it was, like fighting 3 times in a row and trying to get there to get that belt. So I just feel like it's just the end of that part of Bellator era.
I understand. All right. Well, I would want to see a 5th fight, but I just wouldn't want to see it right away. I think you're right. I think we have to mix in some new blood, some new contenders. But if it, you obviously feel it's going to be 2-2 soon. And if it is 2-2, then at some point, someone had to do it in our sport. I don't think anyone's ever fought 5 times. But let's get through this one first and then figure it out. It's great to have you back in the game, healthy and ready to go to defend that belt. And thanks as always for your time, Daniel. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a safe camp, whatever's left. And good luck at Bellator 178.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good one, man.
All right, you too. See you, Daniel. That's the champion over at Bellator in the 145-pound division, the featherweight. He will be defending his belt against Patricio Pitbull Frady at Bellator 178. It's Straus versus Frady, Part 4. We're going to take this break, and when we come back, we are going to talk to Johny Hendricks. We're going to announce the first winner of the contest that we're having weekly here. It's actually Dahlinger Sports Services that's having the contest, and we're getting to announce it every week. So I will let you know who the first winner is. This winner submitted a hashtag Matt moment, and that moment is very similar to one that it's going to ring a bell when you hear it, who it involved, and very easily Junkie Nation could be participating and winning this contest. Now, this winner is going to get a miniature octagon mat displayed in a shadow box frame, signed by Johny Hendricks. And, of course, we're working up to the eventual grand prize, which is traveling to meet Johny Hendricks and train with him, have a private with him, and I'm sure they'll have some other goodies for the eventual winner. Follow along with Dahlinger at Dahlinger, and, of course, Johny Hendricks is at Johny Hendricks. And the way you can enter every week is by submitting your Matt moment, hashtag Matt moment, hashtag contest, and let us know what your Matt moment has been in your career of training or being a fan or just enjoying these great sports that we're a part of, that we touch in MMA. That's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo. You know the deal. And we'll be back after this break, and we'll have the former champ with us, Johny Hendricks. Stay close.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Stretch marks are the new tats. That's what's up. Go to dollarmer.com and follow along here as we present you a weekly contest courtesy of Dollarmer Sports Services. If you want mats for your gyms, if you're a school or a new gymnasium, or anywhere where you may require any types of mats, check out Dollarmer Sports Surfaces. Or if you're like Joe Rogan and you just have a badass house and you just need mats for your house, you can train there and do it. Joining us now is one of their sponsored athletes, Johny Hendricks, the former UFC welterweight champ, and he's now a current middleweight. What's up, Johnny? How you doing?
Shana, how you doing today?
Great, man. Just checking in here. It's going to be fun doing this on a weekly basis. We get to announce a winner every week and then an eventual grand prize winner to come hang out with you. And we'll do that in just a second, but just wanted to check in. How was we spoke to you about a week ago. How was all that, and how you doing?
You know what? Camp's been going good. It's a little rough. You know what I mean? Been adding a little bit more things to my training, which is nice now that I have energy. And yeah, just been sort of at the grind. You know, it's nice to have that feeling.
Do you set a goal every week of what you want to do? Like, you know, whether it's just, hey, I just want to weigh this amount, or I want to get through 10 workouts, or I want to run this fast. You know, like, do you have those little types of mini goals throughout your big camps?
You know what? More than anything, I just want to make sure that each workout I do, I am pushing myself to the limit. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm doing 3 workouts in one day, I want to make sure that I'm pushing myself to where the next day I'm sore. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really what I'm trying to do. You know, because if you sit there and say, hey, I want to run a mile in, let's say, 7 minutes, you know, that's great. But if I can grind out 3 workouts, that makes it, you know, that's sort of more of a fight.
Johnny, whether it's a 12-week camp, 10-week, 8-week, is there one week you can always point to where you know, based on previous training, that's going to be a hell of a week?
You know what? For me, it's usually week 3. Week 3 because, you know, I'm still, you know, so week 3, I'm going to push myself really hard. And it might even be week 4 because I still have enough time to add shape, lose weight, whatever it might be, right? So I have some leeway once I do that push.
So, Johnny, we want to announce the winner of this week's Matt Moment. You ready to do that?
Yes, I am. The winner of this one is at 1 UZ Cleedle, Cleedle. And he is the winner. Congratulations. I wonder what the UZ stands for.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, like, is it Uzi? Is he a gun enthusiast like yourself? It looks like he goes by the name of Levi J. This was sent via Instagram with the hashtag Matt Moment, hashtag contest. And, of course, follow at Dollarmer and follow at Johny Hendricks so that you can submit your Matt Moments. We will do this every week. And Levi J. Levi will win a signed miniature octagon mat displayed in a shadow box frame with the signature being of Johny Hendricks, former UFC welterweight champ. So that's cool. And so what his Matt Moment was, I'm going to read it here. At Dollarmer Mats, at Johny Hendricks, he says, my Matt Moment was training with Rafael dos Anjos. Hashtag Matt Moment, hashtag contest, at Dollarmer Mats. And look at the picture, goes. It's a young kid with Rafael dos Anjos. Who does that kind of remind you of?
Johnny Rico.
Johnny Rico, who used to be part of the same gym with Rafael dos Anjos. I'm not sure where this took place, maybe at a seminar or maybe Levi J. Levi is over at Rain Training Center from time to time. But I'm telling you, man, it's that simple. You submit, and you may be chosen for this week's or for that week's, next week's, I should say, Matt Moment. So very cool. And Johnny, what do you think of that Matt Moment, him getting to train with a former champ? And what's your Matt Moment of the week, too, as well?
Well, so mine was Mine was actually Amir Sadala. That's sort of that was my mat moment.
Uh-huh.
That's sort of what started me in the UFC and also sort of started my career. That's when people really started noticing me.
Yeah, and I actually failed to submit another Matt moment that I had that should have been almost at the top of the list or very damn close. I shared a couple last week, but being able to corner Frank Trigg was pretty cool. And I wasn't particularly on the mat, but I did jump on the mat of a ring because they used the ring over at it was called Icon when he defeated Jason Mayhem Miller with soccer kicks. And I went out there and I was so engulfed in joy that I went out there and went to pick him up. So we were on the mat, but just getting the corner Frank Trigg and seeing something so close like that came across and remembered that was because us celebrating our 10-year anniversary goes. I was just going back to some of the pictures, and that was right around that time. So that was one of my great Matt moments. Hashtag Matt moments. So anyway, that's one feel. I mean, I wasn't even the fighter, and I felt like I was on cloud 9. So I can only imagine what you guys feel like.
It's a different feeling, and you say, "Oh, I'd act this way. I'd act this way." Until you physically feel that moment, you have no idea how you're going to react.
Exactly.
It's so much fun.
And you've definitely had a lot of them, Johnny. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more of them when we do this every week. Thanks again for joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio. We'll let you get back to training for your fight versus Tim Boach at UFC Fight Night 112, and we'll see you in about a week.
Hey, sounds good. Y'all have a wonderful week.
All right, you too, buddy. See ya.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, and thank you again to Dahmer Sports Surfaces for allowing us to participate along with Johny Hendricks. There's a chance for us to catch up with our old chum and be a little bit more active in his life. Before it was just like 2-3 times a year. Hey, Johnny, how was training camp? This, that, whatever. But I kind of like catching up with him on a weekly basis.
Cool contest. I like the way it works.
Yeah. So Johnny Rico, you got a lot of pictures and you got a lot of moments. You should be submitting yours along with many of the others that are part of Junkie Nation that train, daily, weekly, or have attended seminars. I'm sure you've had a Matt moment of some sorts. It's really easy. Hashtag Matt moment and hashtag contests, and send this in, via social media to at Dahmer and at Johny Hendricks, and you may be chosen to be a weekly contest winner or the eventual prize where they fly you in so that you can train with Johny Hendricks. So that's a very cool contest. And again, thank you to Dahmer Sports Surfaces for allowing us to be the facilitator. All right, we are done with breaks, so we can sneak in like another call or two if you want to do that. Any final thoughts goes on everything happening this weekend with Dantas and Higo or Johnson and Hayes? I know you've been, sick and holed up in your room, but I'm sure you've put together some sort of a parlay or maybe a Gozes pick that you can share before we bounce out of here for the weekend.
Actually, I was hoping I could submit another Matt moment.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
So I didn't know that you could maybe put a little bit of a spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, then I remember the first time we covered a Pride event. It was Pride 32.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember trying to rush from California to make it to Caesar's Palace in time for what their version of the open workouts. And we made it just in time. And the main reason that I wanted to get there in time was I wanted to see Takanori Gomi. And he came out.
For his mid session?
He literally hit mitts, barely hit him too, for about 2 minutes tops. And in those 2 minutes, maybe threw, 4 combos or something like that, waved at the crowd, left. So I was pretty fuming. But when he left, then they kind of parted the crowd. And
like Moses in the Red Sea?
Totally. You see Hujimar walking through, right? And he had this swag with him.
The shootbox coach.
Shootbox
okay.
coach with Rafael Cordero. Mm-hmm. And they're walking through, and behind them are the Hua brothers, Ninja, Shogun. You got Vanderlei Silva, Cyborg. That whole team was in the in the ring. And they were all in there at the same time, just throwing down. It was just one coach after another holding pads, but I mean, just bombs. And I remember thinking, wow, I've only seen these guys ever on TV, and now they're all in one ring right in front of me. It was pretty overwhelming. If that wasn't bad enough, they leave, and Fedor Emelianenko comes in, and he starts to hit pads. So I thought that was really, really cool. Now I think about it, and maybe those were two different ones. The first one was Fedor, and I think the second one was the one where they had Shogun, Ninja, all those guys.
Yeah. And do you remember when we got to see Matt Hume train Frank Trigg with a one-on-one private? Probably T or something.
Frank Trigg train who?
And Matt Hume,
oh,
DJ's
yeah.
coach. That was pretty cool and detailed and technical, too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You brought me a T.
Yeah, well, that's what I was suggesting to you. And I could tell you wanted it, but you didn't say anything, so I shot a quick text, and I go, hey, get him a T.
Oh, yeah?
Remember me.
I'll have to remember you. Yeah, that was fun. And, oh, man, there's like a little story that goes with that.
With Trigg and Matt Hume?
Yeah, but I don't know if we can tell it.
10 years removed? I think we could tell anything, can't we? Although Matt Hume bitch slapped somebody once. Did you ever hear that story?
Yeah, in a taxi or something. Yeah, I don't.
So I don't want to get bitch slapped by Matt Hume, but apparently that temper can go from 0 to 60 quick. But you know what? I'm joking. He's a nice guy. Plus, we haven't seen him in years, so who knows when we'll see him. Who knows if he would share that story. But it's kind of funny, and I kind of get where it was coming from. There was some accusations that flew by, and it's funny how you can be on one end, opposite end of the earth, and you can have a comment towards someone, but at some point in an MMA, man, you just gonna kind of cross, and you're gonna have to account for your comments.
This training session was at the old JSEC gym, and that's before you had all these super teams. This is kind of where everybody would just show up and train together. And
yeah, because Extreme Couture was just establishing themselves around that time.
Yeah, just barely. And so that's where you would get a random Frank Mir or Marvin Eastman. Those guys would all go there with John Lewis, and it was fun to be able to
I think
go
the
and watch
Fertitas trained there with Dana, too.
Yeah.
This week was a fun week. We kind of put it together a little bit more closer to showtime than usual, because we were in Virginia last week. Around this time last week, we were visiting the troops at Fort Eustis and Langley Air Base. Trip we'll never forget about. And so when we came back, we were bouncing around. But I want to thank all the guests that came through. It was a blast. I had a blast. Goes maybe not as much because he's been sick, but thank you to Mike Bond, one of our writers at USA Today Sports and MMAjunkie, along with Edson Barbosa, one of the top-ranked lightweights in the world, looking to fight with Tony Ferguson for an interim belt while McGregor boxes, becomes a dad, and then eventually returns to the sport. Daniel Cormier, the UFC light heavyweight, he stopped by. And then the next day, we had what could be his future opponent, Jimmy Manuwa, here in studio. That was a lot of fun. I got great feedback on that one. I don't know what you heard, but people were digging it. Manuwa just kind of like came out of a shell that he has. Even though he's from the streets, he doesn't really put it out or talk much. But I guess Daniel's kind of like extracted some of that gangster out of him. And I think there could be a nice build-up to this fight. Now, if you've seen the fight, what's it called? The Loser and the Agony and the Thrill?
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Agony of Defeat, right? Or something like that?
That's Wide World of Sports. The Thrill and the Agony. I forget. Basically, UFC does a compilation of...
That was interesting, seeing AJ hugging Henry Hoof,
yeah.
How much it meant to him.
And Henry did have another shirt on, which supports his story that he went in the back to change his shirt. I don't know what for. The event was over, but regardless, it doesn't matter.
And you see him talk about his guns or whatever, where you see Daniel say, "Hey, feel his."
Yeah, with Kamaru Usman. So there's two of them. There's a 2-minute one that was on our page. But did you go on the UFC Fight Pass?
No, I just saw ours.
The UFC Fight Pass has an 8-minute one. Go on the UFC Fight Pass and check it out. And if you love the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's a little bit more...
what in the world is this?
I have no idea.
Wow, I feel like I just bit right into a lemon.
Oh, it's probably lemoning your tea.
All right, thank you, Matt.
And so it's 4 times as long, obviously, if it goes from 2 to 8 minutes, but you'll really, really like it. So, again, Jimmy Manuwa, thank you so much for stopping by the studio. Terrell Fortune, Bellator heavyweight. Rob Emerson, Him and Raytheon Stotts this weekend as well. UFC on Fox 24. Luciana Andrade coming to the studio. Dan Tom co-hosting with us, breaking down some fights. Hope you all took notes. He co-signed on a parlay that Marco liked, except he did tend to let everyone know that Watterson and Namajunas is one you may want to just, take a step back from.
He likes
and
some of the underdogs.
He also said there's an alliance towards Nelson. He's part of Extreme Couture, so although he likes him, he wants everyone to know. Dan's a straight shooter. I like that, and he lets everybody know where his allegiances are. But he thinks Nelson has ways to win for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Whitaker is that dog that has odds, although you're going against one of the all-time greats in Jacare. And then after that, if you can find someone else, at least you have your blueprint there for a three-teamer. Ryan Stoddard, the promoter of Victory Fighting Championships. Again, that tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern on the UFC Fight Pass. Check it out. Eddie Wineland, former WEC Bantamweight champion, fights next week in Nashville. He was in good spirits. It was good to catch up with him. Daniel Straus. He defends against Patricio Pitbull Frady. Says 4 fights would be enough, but that's because he holds the belt. I think eventually we'll all see a part 5 if he can get by Pitbull, because you gotta do it. I don't want it right away, but maybe 3-4 fights down the road. One more time. And Johny Hendricks, of course, coming by, sharing his Matt Moment and revealing the winner of this week's Matt Moment contest winner. Levi J, you did a great job. Very cool that you got to train with former lightweight champion Rafael Dos Anjos. Goes, any parting words before we get out of here? We got 30 seconds.
Which would you least rather be called, a banana or a potato?
He called Daniel Cormier a potato, I'd rather be called... No, I'd rather not.
Chappelle called someone a banana on Twitter the other
I'd
day.
rather be a banana.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He called him a potato.
Potato's like, especially because I'm in the shape of a potato, kind of like a pear. I would think that that's what he's implying. We're out of here. For Danny and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice week. Go out there, be champion. See you Monday.